The night before my wedding, police showed up at Aiden's hotel room and arrested him for fraud. The so-called evidence fake documents sent from my personal email. My stepsister Chloe clutched me, sobbing louder than anyone, whispering how I didn't deserve this. But 3 weeks later, she posted a photo of her and Aiden on a healing retreat in Costa Rica. That's when I realized she was the one who made the call. I've lived my whole life in Manhattan's glass towers, where money talks and appearances matter more than truth. My father built his fortune in venture capital, transforming startups into empires. When he remarried after my mother's death, I was 15 and thought I'd finally have the sister I'd always wanted. Chloe was everything I wasn't. Where I was quiet and studious, she commanded rooms. Where I preferred books to parties, she networked like it was an art form. She had this magnetic quality that drew people in: teachers, friends, even my own father seemed to light up when she walked into a room. At first, I was grateful. She taught me how to do my makeup, helped me pick clothes that didn't scream scholarship kid. But there was always this undercurrent, this need to one-up everything I did. When I got into Columbia, she made sure everyone knew she'd been waitlisted at Harvard. When I landed my first internship at Goldman Sachs, she'd casually mention how she'd turned down their offer for something more creative. Every achievement of mine became a launching pad for her own story. I told myself it was just sibling rivalry, normal. But normal siblings don't smile quite so widely when you fail. The pattern continued through our 20s. She'd celebrate my successes publicly while privately making small comments that chipped away at my confidence. "Lucky you," she'd say. "Some people just have all the breaks." I started second-guessing myself. Maybe I was just lucky. Maybe I didn't deserve the life I'd built. Then I met Aiden. He wasn't part of our social circle. He was an outsider who'd built his wealth from nothing. A tech entrepreneur who dropped out of MIT to start a fintech company that revolutionized small business lending. He was brilliant, kind, and refreshingly honest about his modest beginnings. More importantly, he saw through the Manhattan facade I'd learned to wear. "You don't have to perform for me," he told me on our third date. "I like the real you." For the first time in years, I felt genuinely happy. Chloe played the supportive sister role perfectly, too perfectly in hindsight. She'd ask about our dates, offer relationship advice, even helped me pick out lingerie for our first weekend getaway. But I caught her sometimes watching us with this calculating look, like she was studying us. When Aiden proposed at Lake Como with the sunset painting, the water gold, I thought all the rivalry was behind us. Chloe was the first person I called. "You really hit the jackpot, huh?" She said, her voice bright, but somehow hollow. "I always wondered what it would be like to have someone look at me the way he looks at you." I should have heard the warning in those words. The engagement made local headlines. Manhattan's golden couple, they called us in the business journal. Aiden's company was thriving, and my own career at my father's firm was taking off. Everything looked perfect from the outside. That's when the cracks began to show. It started with small things. Anonymous comments on the engagement announcement questioning Aiden's business practices. Whispered conversations that stopped when I entered rooms. Friends asking if I was sure about everything. Then came the articles. First, a blog post questioning some of Aiden's company's lending practices. Then a more serious piece in a financial publication about questionable accounting methods. Anonymous sources claiming they'd been pressured to falsify documents. Aiden was devastated. He'd built his company on transparency and ethical practices. The accusations felt like personal attacks. Its competitors trying to damage us before the IPO. He said, pacing our apartment. "This is how the game works." I believed him, I had to. But the stories kept coming. Each one more damaging than the last. Investors started asking questions. Clients began pulling accounts. The company that had been Aiden's pride and joy was hemorrhaging money and credibility. Through it all, Chloe was my anchor. She'd bring me coffee when I couldn't sleep, listen to me vent about the unfairness of it all. She even offered to hire a crisis management firm to help with the PR nightmare. "Family sticks together," she'd say. "We'll get through this." The wedding was 3 weeks away. Despite everything, I was determined to go through with it. Aiden and I had been through too much to let anonymous cowards destroy our happiness. That's when the SEC got involved. The call came on a Tuesday morning. They'd received credible evidence of wire fraud and money laundering. The documents had been sent from an email account that looked identical to mine. Just one letter, different, nearly impossible to spot unless you were looking for it. The timing was perfect. The wedding was in 4 days. At the rehearsal dinner, Aiden seemed nervous but hopeful. He'd hired the best lawyers money could buy. The charges were clearly fabricated, and truth would prevail. "After we get back from the honeymoon, we'll clear this up," he whispered in my ear as we danced. Nothing's going to stop us now. I should have known those words were a curse. The call came at 2:17 a.m. Aiden's best man, his voice shaking. "They took him, Emma. FBI, they had a warrant." I drove to the precinct in my silk pajamas and a coat, my mind completely blank. This couldn't be happening. Not now. Not to us. Chloe was already there when I arrived, somehow fully dressed and composed despite the early hour. She wrapped me in her arms as soon as she saw me. I came as soon as I heard. She sobbed into my shoulder. "I can't believe he'd do this to you. To us." Even through my shock, something felt off about her performance. The tears seemed too practiced, her timing too perfect. But I was drowning, and she was the only one offering to save me. The evidence was overwhelming. Financial records showing systematic fraud dating back 3 years. Client communications that appeared to show Aiden knowingly misleading investors. And worst of all, email chains that seemed to show me as an accomplice, forwarding documents, discussing strategies, even joking about fooling the marks. My own father looked at me with such disappointment that I wanted to disappear. "How could you not know?" he asked. "How could you be so naive?" Everyone turned on us. Friends stopped returning calls. Wedding guests sent regrets. The venue tried to charge us a cancellation fee. I visited Aiden in holding. He looked smaller, somehow diminished by the orange jumpsuit and the fluorescent lights. "I didn't do this," he said, gripping my hands through the glass. "I swear to you, Emma, I don't know how they got those emails. I don't know where those documents came from." The desperation in his voice was real. But so was the evidence. For the first time in my life, I didn't know what to believe. His lawyer explained the charges in detail. The fraud was sophisticated, designed to look like legitimate business practices, until you dug deeper. Someone with intimate knowledge of both our lives had orchestrated this. "Who else had access to your email?" the lawyer asked. I thought about it. My assistant, my father, a few close friends. And Chloe, who'd helped me set up the new account when I got engaged. She'd insisted on a stronger password, better security settings. She'd been so helpful. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the timing, the perfect storm of accusations that had destroyed everything right before our wedding. How had anonymous sources known so much about our private conversations? How had someone accessed my email so easily? I called Marcus, a friend from college who worked in cybersecurity. If anyone could trace the source of those emails, it would be him. "The metadata tells a story," he said, after examining the evidence. These emails were sent from a spoofed account, but the IP address leads back to a house in the Hamptons. know anyone there. My blood turned to ice. Chloe's family had owned a place in the Hamptons for years. She'd bragged about the privacy, the isolated location, the perfect spot for getting away from it all. I need more proof, I told Marcus. Can you trace the anonymous tips to the SEC? He worked through the night. The digital breadcrumbs led to the same location, the same time frame, the same pattern of deception. Chloe had done this, all of it. She'd systematically destroyed the man I loved using our family's resources and my own identity as weapons. The realization hit me like a physical blow, but I still didn't understand why. The answer came when I confronted her at the family house. She was packing for what she claimed was a healing retreat to help her process the trauma of the canceled wedding. I know what you did, I said simply. She froze for just a moment. Then her face transformed into something I'd never seen before, cold, calculating, triumphant. Prove it, she said. I already have. She laughed, a sound like breaking glass. You always were the smart one. Too bad you were never smart enough to see what was happening right in front of you. Why, I asked, why would you do this to me? She turned to face me fully, and I saw 20 years of resentment in her eyes. Because you never had to try, she said. Everything I had to fight for you just got handed to you. The grades, the internships, the perfect life. Even Daddy's approval. That's not true. Isn't it you never had to worry about being good enough? You never had to wonder if people liked you for you, or for what you could give them. You just existed, and the world bent around you. The venom in her voice was shocking. So you decided to destroy my life. I decided to level the playing field. She zipped up her suitcase with deliberate calm. Besides, I'm doing you a favor. Now you'll know what it feels like to lose everything. And Aiden, she smiled. Aiden will be fine. He's already reached out to me, you know. Looking for comfort, someone who understands what he's going through. I've been very supportive. The pieces clicked into place. The quick response to his arrest. The intimate knowledge of our relationship. The way she'd positioned herself as the understanding sister, the only one who truly believed in his innocence. She'd been planning this for months. You're going to help him rebuild, I said, understanding flooding through me. You're going to be his savior. I'm going to be his everything, she corrected. And he'll never know I'm the one who destroyed his life in the first place. I felt sick. He'll figure it out eventually. Will he? Or will he be too grateful to the woman who stood by him when everyone else turned away? She picked up her suitcase. Men are remarkably easy to manipulate when they're broken. She was right. 3 weeks later, I saw the Instagram post. Aiden and Chloe on a beach in Costa Rica, her head on his shoulder, his arm around her waist. The caption read, "Sometimes healing comes from the most unexpected places." The comments were full of support. People praising Chloe for helping him through his difficult time. Praising them both for finding love after such trauma. No one questioned the timeline. No one wondered how they'd grown so close so quickly. I texted Aiden one last time, "I know what she did." His response came hours later. "She's the only one who believed in me when everyone else walked away. I'm sorry if that hurts you, but I can't keep living in the past." That's when I knew I'd lost him completely. Not just to Chloe's manipulation, but to his own need to believe in someone who hadn't abandoned him. But I wasn't done fighting. I took everything to the FBI. The digital evidence, the timeline, the financial records showing how Chloe had used her trust fund to finance the elaborate fraud. Marcus had been thorough, every spoofed email, every anonymous tip. Every planted piece of evidence traced back to her. The case took 8 months to build. Chloe was indicted on charges of wire fraud, identity theft, and conspiracy. Aiden's charges were dropped, but by then it was too late. His company had collapsed. His reputation was ruined. The investors had moved on to other opportunities. He never recovered professionally. The last I heard, he was working as a consultant for a firm in Seattle using a different name and keeping a low profile. Chloe got 18 months in federal prison. She served 14. Aiden never visited her. By then, he'd figured out the truth. But he never apologized to me, never tried to make amends. I think the shame was too much for him to bear. My father was devastated. He'd spent years building a family, trying to create something beautiful from the ashes of loss. Chloe's betrayal shattered his faith in people, in his own judgment. How did I not see it? He asked me repeatedly. How did I let her into our lives? I couldn't answer him. I was asking myself the same question. The trial was a media circus. "Sister's betrayal rocks Manhattan elite," screamed the headlines. Every detail of our family's dysfunction was laid bare for public consumption, but something unexpected happened during those long months of testimony and evidence. I found my voice. The story was mine to tell. Not the prosecutor's, not the media's, not even Chloe's. I started writing. At first, it was just for me. A way to process the anger, the betrayal, the complex grief of losing a sister I'd never really had. But as the words poured out, I realized other people needed to hear this story too. Veil of Lies became a bestseller within 6 months of publication. Not because people were hungry for celebrity scandal, but because the story of betrayal and resilience resonated with readers who'd experienced their own family dysfunction. The book tour was exhausting, but healing. City after city, people would approach me to share their own stories of toxic relationships, of family members who'd betrayed their trust, of the long journey toward self-acceptance. "Your story helped me leave my abusive marriage," one woman told me in Chicago. "I finally went no contact with my narcissistic mother after reading your book," said another in Denver. Each conversation reinforced what I'd learned through my own pain. Sometimes losing everything gives you exactly what you needed. Today, I run a foundation that helps victims of identity theft and financial fraud. I've remarried to a man who knew my story before he knew my name, who loved me not despite my scars, but because of the strength they represented. Chloe was released from prison 2 years ago. She's never contacted me, never tried to make amends. I heard through mutual acquaintances that she moved to Europe, changed her name, started over. I hope she found peace. I hope she learned to live with herself. But I don't think about her anymore. Not really, because the truth is she did me a favor. Her betrayal forced me to confront the life I'd been living, the careful performance, the need for approval, the way I'd let other people's expectations shape my identity. In destroying my perfect life, she gave me something better, an authentic one. The wedding dress still hangs in my closet. Not as a reminder of what I lost, but as a symbol of what I escaped. Sometimes the most beautiful prisons are the ones we build for ourselves, and sometimes it takes someone else burning it all down to show us the way out.